What's going on, everybody? It's Coach Alex again. Today we're going to be spending our time talking and getting to know Coach Vince. Everybody knows him, everybody loves him. So what's going on, Coach Vince? How you feeling today?
Feeling good today. Got my workout in this morning. You know, it was good to have all the trainers in there working out together.
Yeah, I was going to say we have good morning energy in the workouts right now.
Oh, yes.
And then Luther's got to go call everybody out.
Oh, yeah.
I love how I put you on blast, too.
Oh,
we say, you know it's summertime when Vince is working out again. So that's good. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, what's going on with your workouts. What have you been doing?
I just switched my workout back to doing more strength workout. It was a workout I was doing when I was in Connecticut. One of the guys I work with there, he had, I was kind of a guinea pig for him.
Yeah.
And it was called the Iron Way. So it's more about building strength. So I'm building strength, but at the same time, I'm incorporating more cardio into this, where he didn't have any cardio into it, just more of a type of powerlifting type workout.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to incorporate more cardio into it myself.
Nice. I think something that will be interesting to hear from you, like they probably don't know, or maybe they haven't really fully grasped the concept of, but I think maybe 4 years ago when you first started coming and working at Peak, you didn't have the same body that you have now.
Oh, no. Yeah. I did not. I try to tell people I was a little roly-poly.
Yeah.
I was a roly-poly, and I actually took a picture of then and what I look like now.
Yeah.
It was probably about 6 months ago, my current picture. And when I show it to them, people don't believe it's me.
That's you.
But
yeah.
I try to explain to them, everybody has their moments. They have their periods in time in life where, they get down or they're not as motivated doing certain things. And I went through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went through that, and you saw I was a little heavy. And then I finally said, look, I need to get myself back together. And I think what helped me was working here.
Yeah.
Having the motivation and being around you guys, other people who were, had the same goals, that were self-motivated, that were in shape and doing things the right way. And it helped me to get back on track.
Which I think is interesting because you came here, you had been working at another gym before. So even working at that other gym, was it not motivating for you? Even it's a similar environment, the same, what was the difference between where you were at before and then what it was like when you came here?
The area I worked at before was Greenwich, Connecticut, which is a very affluent community. So financially, it was a great area to be in. But, I tell people all the time, making a lot of money and not being happy don't work. I moved back here because it was a toxic environment in the place I was. We had good trainers, but we weren't working for the same cause. Everybody was working for themselves.
Yeah.
So it was a great situation as far as, I could make a lot of money, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
You had trainers stealing clients from each other. You had trainers talking behind each other's back, things like that. And the owners of the gyms were bickering with each other all the time. Then I'm getting caught in the middle, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to go home.
Yeah.
I'm not happy here anymore.
And do you feel like that environment was translating into your workouts? Because I feel like sometimes, when you get frustrated or you're in a bad situation, the way that you might want to relieve that stress is to go and work out. But is it the opposite? Did you just want to get out of the space, or?
For me, I'm when I get stressed, I'm an eater and a drinker.
Yeah.
Some people will go to the gym to work out to relieve their stress. I mean, my food was my relief. I would go and, stop by a fast food place or something like that to eat. That was my relief. And I worked out regularly, but I just wasn't getting the results because I wasn't doing everything right. You know how it is. We talk about doing everything. You can work out hard, but you have to do the other part as far as the nutritional part also. And also taking care of your body as far as sleeping properly, getting the right amount of sleep and things like that. So I wasn't doing everything. I was just getting the left. I was getting strong. I was working out, but I wasn't getting the result.
The result that you
wanted.
And
then once I came here, working with yourself and the other trainers, and and having the seminars that the meetings we have, talking about those things, it helped because it put me back on track. Okay, now I know I need to get this and do that, so it helped.
Good. So I think that's important for everybody else, even you that's watching this right now. Every single person, Vince goes through it, I go through it, every coach is going through something where we're trying to tweak the system or change and adjust things. So at every point in life, don't ever think that you're alone. I think that's probably a big piece.
Yes.
Because I feel being an amazing athlete, having a long career as a professional athlete, then becoming a trainer, your peers probably look at you and they're like, oh, well, that's just so, it's easy for you. It's like, it's natural, you know? But they don't see the downside or the other components of that too.
You know, and it's funny you say that because, you know, James Laurinaitis came in here a couple weeks ago to work out, and we were just talking, and he was saying how since he's retired, I was the same way. You were so used to being on a set schedule, told what to do. You knew what your schedule was every day. You know, during the off season, you go to a trainer, you walk in, the trainer tells you what to do. So now that he's retired, he's out there trying to work out on his own. It's like, okay, what do I do now?
What's next?
Yeah. So he was going through the same thing. That's why he wanted to come in here and take classes, so he doesn't have to think about it. He just, you know, do what he's
get it done and know it's
so when you're used
right.
to doing on a schedule for so long, from you know, high school to college to the pros, and then once you get out of their environment, and for me, I went back to work for the Packers, so I was still kind of on that set schedule. You know, we had a cafeteria there, had cooks there, so you know, I could just eat a healthy meal on the,
and it was
without
already
even
there.
thinking about it. I didn't have to worry about meal planning because the meals were already there. So when I got away from that, and it was kind of, initially I was doing fine, but then, you know, I kind of got away from that, and that kind of hurt me.
Yeah, I bet. So let's shift gears. Let's like dive backwards for a minute. So tell me a little bit about like your family situation. I know you've told me like a story before about how you got into football.
Yes.
But like, tell me a little bit about your family. Like, what was it like growing up for you? I know you started in New York and then kind of gravitated here to Ohio. So like, how did all that work out for you?
Well, my mom and dad both were born in Buffalo, New York. My grandmother, my mom's mom, she's from Ohio, so she's from Springfield, Ohio. And obviously her and my grandfather married and moved to Buffalo, New York. And so when I was born in Buffalo, New York, you know, my mom passed away when I was 11 years old. She got me started in football. Being, you know, growing up, I was a Buffalo Bills fan, just like every kid in Buffalo, New York. I was actually more of a hockey fan than I was a football fan at the time. And so she got me started in football, but unfortunately she, you know, only seen me play my 5th grade and 6th grade year, because she died like literally, you know, like a week after my last, you know, 6th grade football game. He had an aneurysm and things like that. So we had family members here in Ohio, so my stepdad wanted to move here, but you know, things didn't work out at the time. Then we finally moved here to Ohio to live with my great uncle, who lived in Lucy Dep Park just north of Shawnee Hills. And he had been here since 1960. And you know, the thing I tell people all the time, I was very fortunate, more fortunate than other people, in the sense that I've got to live on both sides of the tracks. You know, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, living in the projects. You know, predominantly, you know, all African American people in the projects. We got bused to schools. And then moving here to Dublin, Ohio, when it was predominantly white, I got to experience both sides of it. And you know, I didn't have any issues moving here. And but I'm able to adapt to different cultures. You know, moving to different places and adapting to different areas is not a problem for me, which I've seen, you know, in college and in the pros, guys who are just used to being in a certain area. Like, especially in Green Bay. If you've never been to Green Bay, Wisconsin, Green Bay is like a very small town. It's like a college town. It's really not there. It's a predominantly white area and Native American area. And so a lot of times guys come from the South, either black or white. They get there and they have a cultural problem, have issues, because they're not used to that type of environment. Small town, and it's just one type of culture. And so they struggle with it a little bit. You know, and for me though, I was fine because I was used to living in different cultures.
So then, like, you get to Ohio, you're in Dublin, and like, what was that like for you? Were you like right away into sports? Was that how you kind of got into like your social environment, how you kind of assimilated into the environment, or was it hard to transition in? Like,
it was very easy because of sports. And I try to tell people all the time, sports, you know, especially playing team sports, it helps a lot because you are forced to be with other people. You're forced, you know, you've played yourself, you're forced to be a teammate. It's just a force, but it teaches you how to be a teammate. And my first day, and I tell this story all the time, you know, coming from Buffalo, New York, in the environment I was in, and I walked into Dublin, because school had already started, and I was walking with my stepdad, and I'm looking, and you know, I saw nothing but white people. And so first thing I'm thinking, like, oh man, I'm in trouble. You know, I didn't know just from my experience in Buffalo. But you know, I went in, you know, I never had a problem. You know, from day one, never had a problem, because I wasn't the first black person to go to school at Dublin. You know, they've had black people in the school system for years.
For a long time, yeah.
You know, but at the time I didn't know that.
Right.
So I'm thinking I'm going to have problems here and there. But I went out for football the first day, and I was welcomed with open arms. And it wasn't because I was a good football player, because that's just the type of people that was the culture in Dublin.
That was here, yeah.
That was the culture that, if you were a good person, you treat everybody kindly, you were going to be treated kindly.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And so I tell people all the time that it wasn't because of my athleticism, it was because of the people that I surrounded myself with and who I befriended.
Yeah.
And having my high school coach who you've met before, he was big with that, because he treated everybody the same.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't no superstars on the team or anything like that. If you were the water boy or you were the best player on the team, he treated you the same.
The same iron fist with everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Water boy had to do sprints too if he messed up.
Yeah, that's good. So, like, one of the big things I think is always interesting is like the takeaway, the life skills that you start to learn from sports and athletics, and how that is like applied to the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would you say that there were like any like impactful moments or events that occurred in your athletic career, in your sports environment, that you feel like one or two foundational life lessons that you've carried with you for, until today?
Yeah, not necessarily specific moments, but people in my life. Like my Uncle James, who I lived with as my mom passed away, he was 2 generations older. He was my grandmother's brother.
Gotcha.
And so there was a generation.
So he's a great uncle.
Great uncle, yes. And so he raised me. And he had a lot of life lessons that he taught me, about different things. Him being born in 1911, living, all those years up until the 90s, he went through a lot through his life as a black man living in America. So he taught me a lot of lessons about, how to trust people, what to look out for in life and things like that. And then, I had my high school coach to help teach me about work ethic. He, pushed me, like I said before, I was one of the best players on the team, but he pushed me and never let me get lazy or let me slack off. He was always on me about that, and that helped me at the next level. So when I went to college, working hard in practice and doing those things were easy because I was used to doing it
already.
That's why he and I are still close friends to this day.
Yeah.
Because he's always been in my life. And I had when I turned pro, my agent Steve Luke, who helped me during those years, and he was my agent my whole career. Because a lot of times you find guys are changing agents, all the time, trying to get more money and this and that. But I was with Steve because Steve treated me like a little brother. He took care of me. He didn't try to, swindle me or anything like that, because that happens a lot of times in that business. He was, I could trust him, with anything, and we're still close friends to this day also. And all those people were very close. Like my Uncle James trusted my high school coach. My high school coach introduced me to Steve Luke because they played together at Ohio State, so he trusted him. So I knew I was with good people. I've just been very fortunate in my life to be surrounded by a lot of good people.
Yeah, that's good. So, like, kind of segueing into the next part is like your occupation, right? So your life started as an athlete and a student, and then you were in college, and then you became pro, and then from pro you went back to coaching and working with those athletes to like now you work with younger athletes. Like the evolution of that has been pretty big, and you've gone almost like full circle all the way around. What do you feel like was like the underwriting principle or like the key piece to you wanting to stay in that and helping people?
Well, when I worked for the Packers, I went in as a scout originally for 2 years, and then our general manager, Ron Wolf, retired. And when he retired, the new general manager asked me to move to the weight room to be assistant strength coach, because I had a good rapport with the players already. I got along with the players, and some of them, I played with or played against that were older veterans. So it was an easy move for me knowing the guys already.
Yeah.
And then as a coach, a few years later, 6 years later, the head coach was fired, so the whole coaching staff was fired.
Yeah.
And living in Green Bay, I was, living with my son. I was a single parent, and he was, had been going to school there. He was getting ready to start high school. He had been there since 6th grade. And I didn't want to uproot him and start moving around, because if you're in that coaching business in the professional ranks, you got to be willing to move every year or every other year.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that with my son. What I did, I stayed there, and fortunately a friend of mine had worked at a sports medicine facility, and they were just opening up their own fitness place there. And he asked me to come work there. So I started working there, and I started working with young athletes, or, the everyday person, the weekend warriors and that. And I started feeling and noticing that I had an impact on them.
Yeah.
Because working with the Packers, you're working with professional athletes. I'm not making them any better. I wasn't making Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers any better. They were already, near their ceiling. I was helping them maintain during the season, but I wasn't getting them any better. But I could take somebody like my son's age and watch a sixth grader, seventh grade, eighth grade, and watch them develop and mature and see them improve and do things. You know how it is when you see a kid who can't even do a push-up when they first are able to do an actual push-up, the joy and excitement you see in their face, that's what filled me. And I'm like, this is what I think I want to do.
You like that, and then you stuck with
it, yes.
Nice. So like you talk about like life skills and things that you learned and being around good people. What are things that you feel like you want to instill in like the athletes that you work with or the clients that you work with? What are things that you feel like, you want to pass on to them?
The same things that I learned, helping others. You know what I mean? You got to want to work hard, do your best. You never know, and if you make a mistake, it's okay because everybody makes mistakes. You get some of these kids who get down on themselves, really get down on themselves because they make a mistake. I said everybody does. I use examples use my life examples. I use examples of other professional athletes that I've played with and seen and say, look, we've all made mistakes. It's how you come back from the mistakes. And just paying forward. Like Woody Hayes would always say, don't pay back, pay forward. So that's why I enjoy doing it, because I'm helping young athletes to achieve their goals or work towards their goals. And because somebody helped me when I was their age.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just lead, and I tell them all the time, look, if you see this kid over here, your buddy is struggling, help him out. Don't make fun of him, don't laugh at him. Encourage him to do better.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're gonna need somebody to help encourage you.
You spend some of your time going and like talking at the middle schools and doing like speeches and things like that. Do you feel like that? Because I know like today's kids, like even with me coaching at the middle school level, I feel like on a surface level, they're not really paying attention to you. They're not listening. But I think a lot of that is kind of like a front. And they are absolutely listening to you and they're taking it all in. And when you go into a room where there's 200, 250 kids just sitting there staring at you, do you feel like the message that you're trying to get to them is being received? And like, what is that message? The same kind of message, just pay it forward, don't pay it back?
Yes, what I usually do when I speak to kids, I try to turn it into question and answering type of thing. Because if I go in there and I just lecture them, like you say, they're going to, turn it off.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to listen to the first 5 minutes, and then next thing you know, they're over there talking to their friend, this and that. So when I noticed that, I try to turn it into quick to get them engaged, to have them ask questions and things like that. So I've always found that was the best way to talk to them. Because it made, like, one kid on this side of the room may have a question, but they don't get a chance to ask it, but somebody else has the same question, so they'll get their question answered. Yeah. And they, and I try to make it a game. They ask. You always get the questions like some kids. What kind of car do you drive? How much money do you make? Those are the normal things. But then like you get some interesting ones. They'll ask about just like some of the questions you asked. So what was your motivation when you were young? What did you always dream about wanting to be a professional football player? Things like that. So you get some interesting questions, but sometimes you gotta fish for it.
You gotta sort through it.
Yes.
Yeah. So aside from like coaching and going and talking and motivating like groups and families and things like that, what are other things that you like to do recreationally? Like what's fun for you? I know when we first started talking about things that you wanted to do or needed to do outside of just coaching.
Well, I got to travel a little bit this year. I did the Buckeye Cruise for the second time, which I really enjoyed, and I went to go visit some family for a little time, which was nice, good for me to get away. I've always, being an athlete, I always liked sports, like playing basketball or, recreational things like that.
Yeah.
But, as I've gotten older, my body doesn't recover as quickly as it used to, so I don't get to do it as often as I would like. But I like doing things like that. Just going out playing golf. I'm not a good golfer, but I enjoy getting out there and play, get out there doing the things like that. So, and spending time with friends and family, just whatever it could be, picnicking or, just doing something outside I enjoy.
Yeah. I know at one point you were competing in like the senior or the
Yes.
masters track?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Now is that something that because you ran? I think you ran in one competition.
Yeah, I ran in one last year. Unfortunately, I pulled a hamstring.
But you got second place or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
I qualified for the nationals.
Yeah, with the pulled hamstring. Yeah.
And the national is actually next month in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And the only reason why I'm not going is because I don't want to fly all the way to New Mexico to run one race. But I looked at the schedule. I have to be down there for about 6 days.
Oh.
So I'll be down there 6 days just to run one race.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm gonna try and run again and maybe qualify for next year.
Okay.
But this year I was like, I'm gonna wait so I can at least run one or more, at least
Couple
2 or 3
events.
races
Yeah.
before I go down there. Cause I want to be down there for 6 days just to run 50 meters.
Yeah, there's a lot to do in Albuquerque though.
Yeah, that is true.
You get out there and travel
Yeah.
around a little bit. So that's cool, man. I'm really happy that you get to do that.
And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I would tell people all the time, I mean, I just turned 52, a couple weeks ago, but I don't feel 52.
Yeah.
And it's all about just moving, and that's the whole thing. Like you said, when I was first started, I was overweight, wasn't really doing anything. But once I started getting back into to the flow of things, and I tell people all the time when I joined your class, Everest.
Yeah.
But at first, I knew it was going to be tough because I knew I was out of shape for what I was used to.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell them, I said the first 3 days I threw up every day, but I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just from experience, I knew it was going to happen. But I said I had to do it. I had to
Right.
get through that. And after that, I was fine.
Up and running.
Yes.
Yeah, you were doing good. Yeah, because I think the biggest thing was we would always talk about food. Like, what were you eating? Were you planning your food?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And making sure that you were preparing your stuff and like getting things organized. So yeah, it's good because you get to see like that full transition back to where it's like you gain control and now you're making those decisions.
And I try to explain to people all the time, it's not, and I tell them I don't eat perfect 100% of the time. But what I did, I changed a lot of things. And I still have my ice cream every once in a while. I eat some chips every once, but I don't eat it as regularly as I used to.
Yeah.
I don't. I like Culver's. I like to eat Culver's burgers, but I go to Culver's maybe once a month. And I use it as a treat,
right?
As opposed to it being one of my main meals. And that was one of the biggest changes. Just like you said, preparing your own food, knowing what I'm going to eat, and it's there. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. It's good. Cool. So the last thing that I want to kind of chat with you about today is like dreams, like goals, objectives. What are things that you feel like you're working towards right now to make yourself better, to make life more enjoyable, right? To just really like settle in and,
Well, just doing things in the community, build things up in the community, working with the youth.
Yeah.
Doing things with the youth in the community, whether it be, DFL or, Dublin Youth League, or whether it be, the high schools, just working with the kids and helping them is what I want to do. Just continue to build, good athletes and help build, create good people.
Now, is that something in line with like the speed camp that you want to do this summer?
Yes, the speed camp is one of those things I want to do. It'd be the first one initially, so it'd be kind of a feeling out period, trying to see how things are going to work, how many people we're going to be able to get there, the timing of it, because there's so many things going on during the summer. Sometimes it's hard for people to get to camps because they already got so many camps going on.
Yeah. No, I think that'll be good. Cool. So if there's anything else that you would want to like share or a message or something like that you feel like would be fun or good to leave with anybody who'd be watching.
Well, just keep on trucking. Just do the best you can, and know that there's going to be some roadblocks in your life, but you can get over them roadblocks. They're just speed bumps. I shouldn't say roadblocks, but speed bumps. We all been through them. Professional athletes, the everyday person. But when you got a great support team, it makes it a lot easier. So don't always try to rely on yourself. Use other people's help. Use the people that are there for you.
It's good. All right, guys, this is Alex White, Coach Vince. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you guys had a great time. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Vince Workman. Hey, thanks a lot, man.
All right.